Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, the weights for the upcoming Matchroom versus Queensbury card, 5 versus 5, have now been announced. Of course, this card goes down on the 1st of June in Saudi Arabia. And the main event is going to be Beterbiev versus Bivol. That in and of itself is all I need from a boxing card, quite frankly. That fight is of such quality, I could care less about the undercard in any other circumstance. But the undercard for this card is looking very interesting. So the weights for this proposed Matchroom versus Queensbury idea have been confirmed. 2 fights will be at featherweight. 1 fight is going to be at middleweight. Another fight is going to be at light heavyweight. And finally, there will be a fight at featherweight. Essentially, they're running this card as like a competition. So Matchroom versus Queensbury, points will be involved. Apparently each promoter will get to make 1 fighter captain. And if their captain wins, they get 2 points. Listen, it's a fun idea, in my opinion. I'm more concerned about the fights though. I wanted to speculate on what fights may happen. The 2 heavyweight fights I find may be the most interesting. Well, I believe that they will be the most appealing. I'm going to guess on each fight. I'm going to guess what each fight is going to be. We're going to start with the heavyweight fights, the 2 heavyweight fights. The first one, I believe, is very likely to be between Daniel Dubois and Filip Hrgović. And let me get this straight, I actually see that as a very evenly matched fight. Dubois, as we know, has his vulnerabilities. We've seen that throughout his career. Been questioned in regards to his heart over his career. 2 losses in which he both quit in. But he's a guy with a good jab. He's powerful. He puts his shots together well for a heavyweight. And offensively, he is quite dynamic for a heavyweight. Likes to mix things up. Hrgović, on the other hand, extensive amateur background. Maybe hasn't shown his ability as a professional just yet. Does hold wins over Zhili Zhang, Dempsey, McKean, etc. But he hasn't really impressed so far as a pro. Arguably lost the fight with Zhili Zhang. But Hrgović is a tough guy. He's shown he's got a good chin, got a bit of power. He's taller than Dubois, I believe longer also. And he's got a more awkward style than Daniel Dubois. Kind of leans back behind that lead hand. He can be hard to get to. And he can kind of chop you down with that sort of right hand down the pipe. I think that fight's interesting, very interesting. I see it as a 50-50, quite frankly. Also, one more thing to consider. This fight is going to be on the 1st of June. This card is on the 1st of June. So there's a potential possibility that Dubois versus Hrgović could be for a vacant IBF heavyweight title, because Usyk Fury would have happened by then, and who knows, potentially belts may become vacant because Hrgović is due a shot at the IBF title, so who knows what could happen there. Dubois versus Hrgović is a fight in which I believe will happen. The second heavyweight fight is more of a guess. I'm going to guess straight up of Joe Joyce versus Justice Hooney. Justice Hooney recently beat Kevin Lerena on the Joshua Ngannou undercard. Had a tough fight. He's an up-and-comer. Joe Joyce, of course, rebuilding from that defeat to Zhili Zhang. Joyce versus Hooney may make a bit of sense. Older guy versus younger guy. Joyce wants to get himself back in the picture, and Hooney wants to get to the picture. So why not have these 2 guys fight each other? Contrasting styles. Joyce is much more aggressive, throws a lot more punches, is much bigger. Justice Hooney is more of a sharpshooter, counter-puncher, but he can mix things up also. I would make Joe Joyce a favourite in that bout, quite frankly, if that fight is to happen, but I think that one's a very real possibility for the second heavyweight fight. The featherweight fight, I believe, is going to be between Raymond Ford versus Nick Ball. Raymond Ford recently won the WBA featherweight title against Otabek Kolmatov in a fight in which he stopped Kolmatov late. Really good fight. And Nick Ball recently fought Ray Vargas for the WBC featherweight title and got a draw. So I think Raymond Ford versus Nick Ball is a big possibility for the featherweight fight. I would make Raymond Ford a favourite, but Nick Ball is a tough guy, carries power, relentless, but I would make Raymond Ford a favourite in that bout. Still, decent fight though. In regards to the middleweight fight, this could be a number of fights, but I'm going to go with the fight in which I want to see the most. When it comes to the realistic middleweight bouts available, I would like to see Hamza Shiraz versus Austin Ammo Williams. Both guys are up-and-comers. Hamza has looked really good in recent fights. Ammo Williams is a guy who I believe has some potential, has looked really good in some fights, and in others, not quite so good. But put those two guys together, you're going to get a great fight. Two up-and-comers, two guys who are looking to secure world rankings and elevate themselves to a title shot. So why not two unbeaten up-and-comers square off? I think that's a great fight. Hamza Shiraz versus Austin Ammo Williams. You could also do Hamza Shiraz versus Felix Cash, but I think Hamza Shiraz versus Ammo Williams is a better fight, quite frankly. And lastly, we will talk about light heavyweight. Now, when it comes to the light heavyweight fights available, to me there doesn't really seem many, because Anthony Yarde appears to be in negotiations with Joshua Buatsi. Aside from that, Frank Warren doesn't really have many light heavyweights, does he? He's got Karol Atalma, who's not great. He's got Zach Parker, who I believe is maybe moving to light heavyweight. The only fight I can really think of would be like Zach Parker versus Craig Richards, which isn't a bad fight, but it's not as good as the previous fights I've mentioned, in my opinion at least. Maybe the light heavyweight fight is Zach Parker versus Craig Richards. Can't really think of many more than that, to be honest. Maybe they could pull something and get Anthony Yarde versus Callum Smith. That'd be amazing, but I think that's very unlikely. I think the light heavyweight fight is going to be the weakest here. I'm predicting Zach Parker versus Craig Richards. So those are my predictions. We're going to get Dubois versus Hrgovic, Joyce versus Hooney, Ball versus Ford, Ammo Williams versus Hamza Shiraz, and Zach Parker versus Craig Richards. Those are my predictions, 4 of which I'm really into. The Zach Parker-Craig Richards fight, decent, but I could do without it. We shall see how right or wrong I am. Anyway, share your thoughts below. I like this idea of this 5 versus 5. Hopefully it can happen maybe every year. That would be great. But yeah, I'm all for, trying new things in boxing to garner these fights and get these fights happening. But yeah, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace.